I think we are recording right now. Okay, we are recording. And welcome to our December 7th computer science learning event. We're a little early this month so that we can, celebrate Computer Science Education Week. And so if you are here waiting and thinking about what should I do in the chat, can you tell us what brings you here and what is your role at your office or school? And we'll go to the next slide. Okay. So aloha kako, welcome everyone. I'm Janine Nakakura, resource teacher at OSID, along with my coworker, Faith Ishihara. She is an education officer. We both work on the computer science team. Next slide. So we are here today to give you some hints and tips and tricks for Computer Science Education Week, and we're going to focus in on the Hour of Code. All of our links, resources are scheduled. They are all located in this agenda. So if you click on the blue link to the left, it will give you a link to this agenda. And if we forgot something, I'll make sure to add it to this agenda. And the presentation link, along with the recordings, will also be located here when we are finished today. All right, so the next thing we have on our agenda is the bell ringer. So if you could, in the chat, could you type where you have heard the word algorithm mentioned? Okay, and again, I'm putting the agenda into the chat so you can have all of our resources. So in the chat, where have you heard the word algorithm? And if you can, provide a related resource link if possible. So if you go to the next slide, I'll give you an example. So here's my example. I typed in the word algorithm in Hawaii, and this is what I came out with, this article from February 25th from the Hawaii Tribune Herald. And it talks about the use of algorithms and how they can perpetuate bias. And what I was thinking was, when I hear algorithms, I always think of when I go shopping or when I do a Google search, boom, those things I was searching for turn up in an ad or in my news feed or something. It's like, wow, that's pretty amazing. So algorithms, if you go to the next slide, I'll put all your responses into this table so that if you're watching the recording, you can look at the presentation and see what was in the chat. But Cody put math class and Brett put programming class. So those are where, we hear the word algorithm mentioned. And we also hear it in some other places. So why am I talking about algorithms? Because our focus today is on core concept number 4, which is algorithms and programming. And if you look at the really small font underneath, the sub-concepts are algorithms, variables, content, modularity, program development. So it's more than just coding. And if you want to see that in bigger font, just click on the link to the right. Okay, next slide. Here's our progression chart. And we keep showing this because we want you to memorize this. Okay, just joking. But be familiar with it. Go back. So on the left are the core concepts, and going across are the grade bands from early elementary all the way to high school. And don't forget, there's a backside to it. Okay, next slide. So today we're going to cover 3 standards, one from elementary, one from middle school, and one from high school. So the first one is decomposing or breaking down the steps needed to solve a problem. And then the second one is systematically test and refine programs. And then the third one is design and develop computational artifacts, working in team roles and using collaborative tools. Okay, so next slide. I'm going to turn it over to Faith now, and she will show you in a plugged and unplugged hour of code activity for elementary students. And after Faith is done, I will show you plugged and unplugged activities for hour of code for secondary students. So here you go, Faith.
Thanks, Janine. Yeah, so this week, the whole week, we're celebrating CS Ed Week, and we're kind of focusing on that hour of code. And the theme in hour of code for this year is CS everywhere. So we're encouraging students and teachers to explore the relationship of computer science with subjects that they study in school, with different industries that they might have interest in or work with, and with different career paths. So I'm going to include in the chat, oops, sorry, some a link to, or maybe I'll ask Janine to do it for me. The links on the slide to share what Hawaii is doing this week. There's a link to uh, an app, and you can just click on the different activities there. And we also had a huge kickoff session yesterday with Governor Ige and Interim Superintendent Keith Hayashi, kind of promoting the value of computer science in terms of student education and economy for Hawaii. So, really exciting things going on across the nation. And here is a little bit more about the Hawaii kickoff that happened yesterday. And I urge you to take a look at that link and see that recording and all the messages that were shared with us. So, as I was saying, um, Hour of Code this year has a theme to connect computer science to different content areas. And so they're, they're calling it Computer Science Connections. And it allows K to 12 students to learn about computer science in language arts and math and science. And in these slides, there is a link to all of those curriculum that you can take a look at your leisure. And if you see that number on the bottom of this slide, that great big 1 billion, over 1 billion, we are part of that number and growing. And it's really exciting because that's the largest learning event in history. And so, mahalo for joining and participating. So, for the first thing I wanted to share with you is called poem art. And this is a code of our code activity and allows students to take a look at what is being expressed in poetry and then using code to show how they interpret those moods that they feel as they read the poems. So I'll go to share that with you. Let me turn off my camera and mic.
My name is Kaya, and I'm a poet and a computer science student. I've learned so much from coding that's made me a better poet, and so much about my poetry has made me better at coding, just because you have to really think about the words that you choose and what you're going to create once it all comes together. Over the next hour, you're going to learn about computer science and poetry by creating an animated poem. In essence, poetry is making art with words. I create poetry to express myself. I try to stir the audience's imagination and emotions when I write, by using my unique style and rhythm. Just like art, poems can be interpreted in many different ways. The same poem might mean very different things to different people, and each poem has its own mood. Mood is the feeling you get from a poem. Sometimes people associate certain colors and imagery with different moods. For instance, the color yellow makes me feel cheerful. And when I think about a mood like fear, I sometimes picture a dark and stormy night in my head. In this activity, you'll have the opportunity to illustrate and animate the mood of a poem based on how it makes you feel. Let's take a look at how you'll do this using code. You'll see that your screen is split into 3 main parts. On the left is the play space. This is where your animated poem will show up. Each poem has a title and an author. This middle area is the toolbox. New blocks of code will become available in this space as you go through the lesson. The space on the right is the workspace. You can drag blocks out of the toolbox and into the workspace to build your program. The instructions for each level will be up here at the top of the screen. If you want a hint, click on the light bulb. First, select a poem you like. There are all kinds of poems, and you can choose a new one on every level. Next, you'll drag blocks from the toolbox into your workspace to animate your poem. You can choose a background color or effect that matches the mood of your poem. Then click Run to see your poem in action. Spend some time reading the different poems and find one that sparks an emotion in you. Think about how you feel and how you can communicate that feeling through imagery and code.
Okay, so that gave us an idea of what this activity is. And so, as Kes mentioned, we're going to first select a poem. So you can click on that down arrow and read through the different poems and find one that, resonates with you. And then we're going to use the blocks in the toolbox to set up our code here. So say when it runs, I want to change the font to Arial. I want to change my background to this kind of cloud and yellow scenery because I'll read the poem and it talks about daffodils. So I want a little bit of yellow in there. And so when I hit run, it says, I wandered lonely as a cloud by William Wordsworth. And I wandered lonely as a cloud, floating high o'er vales and hills. And when all at once I saw a crowd, a host of golden daffodils beside the lake, beneath the trees. And so you kind of can see how it sets a mood, and you can illustrate how you feel about that poem through the coding that you do. So I really encourage you to take a look at that. And I'm going to go back to our slide presentation. Oops. And I want to share this link with you. So this morning I woke up at for something in order to watch the national our CS Ed Week, where a 10-year-old student was teaching this very lesson on poem art. And she went through all the levels. What I showed you was really scratching the surface, level 1. And she goes through all the levels with a teacher beside her. And this is the link to the whole recording. And I think you'll find it really interesting to see how it progresses. And slowly we add more and more pieces to the coding. So now I'm going to share an elementary unplugged, and this is where we don't necessarily need a computer. So on this first one, there is a mistake in these directional arrows. So if you enter the screen from the left and you move toward the right, okay, that right arrow is correct. And the second direction, you have to go up. There is no down option. So that down arrow is incorrect, and that's what we call the bug. So we're going to find the bugs and correct them so that our program runs properly. So in this second one, let's do it together. So the first, we enter from the left, we start traveling to the right. So that first directional arrow is correct. Then we need to go down. That directional arrow is correct. And to the right and up. And are you seeing where the bug is, where there's a mistake in the program? If you can find it, you can mention it in the chat. Which arrow is pointing in the wrong direction, and what direction should it be pointing in? So if we follow the directions of right, down, right, up, and yes, it should be going right instead of left. Okay, so I did one, we did one together. Now it's your turn. Take a look at these 4 programs and which one does not have a bug, which one is correct. Is it the orange, the lime, the grape, or the brownie cookie? And put your answer in the chat. A lot of great thinking going on. Okay, is it orange? Let's check it out. So orange says we go right, then we go down, then we go right, then we go up, then we go right. Oops. But then we hit this little place where we would have to go up and right again if it were orange. So might there be a better option? Purple. Let's try purple. Okay, so right, up, left, up, right. Oh, purple gets us out. So yay. Thank you for participating. Yay. So the grape little icon was the right answer. So let's see. Okay, so now I'm going to turn it over to Janine. I'll stop sharing and she's going to take us through some secondary activities, unplugged and plugged.
Alrighty, so while I'm getting this set up, yeah, that took more thinking than I thought. So good job with your thinking caps, everyone.
Yeah, you guys are
And you know what? It's okay to make a mistake. That's the
Yes,
whole
yes,
idea.
we love mistakes because mistakes are growing.
You make mistakes and then you go back and find out what you did wrong. That's what we call
develops our
debugging,
persistence.
right?
Debugging.
Okay, so I'm going to share, oh, sorry, wait, done. I'm going to present. Here we go. This unplugged activity for high school. And so this plan does not require a computer. And when you click on the Hour of Code little activities, it gives you a little, excuse me, overview of the lesson. And so this one is Code HS Pixel Art. So if you click on this link, it shows you the directions for the lesson. And so you start with, excuse me, something simple like this image, which is a smiley face. And so here are the answers, but don't look. And then they want you to go to a more complex picture and write the code or program for it. And then they give you an even more challenging one here. And then you would create your own as a student. So let's go back to our slide presentation. So what I would like you to do is look at this first picture in the lesson. It's a smiley face. And I kind of helped you out here by putting the first 6 lines for the program. So I would like you to figure out what the 7th line would be. Okay, so put your answer in the chat, and then I can't see the chat, so Faith could call out what she's seeing, or you can yell it out yourself if you want. We don't have a big group here, so feel free to unmute yourself and just yell it out. Hopefully it won't be too chaotic. So just to get you started, 1, 1, 1, 1 is green, 3, 1 is green, 0, 3 is green, and so just follow the direction. So what is the 7th line? Okay, and we're giving some thinking time here. Line 7, and so 4 is 4 and 3, 5 is 1 and 4, 6 is...
Okay, we've got a answer from Brett, 3, 4, green.
3, 4, green. I think that is correct. So if you go back to the lesson plan, remember I told you it's all in this lesson. The answers are here. It says 3, 4, green. Okay, very good. So now you can go on to the next step. Yay, woohoo! And do something more complex. But that's the example for unplugged. So here's one for a plugged activity for middle school, and it's called Artist by Code.org. So if you click on this link, okay, and all of these links again are in your agenda, right? So if you click on that link, it has you draw different shapes, and they start with something very simple, which is a square. So I'm going to just put it in here. It says you should have 8 blocks. Okay, so move forward, then turn right, move forward. And I'm going to do something wrong here. And you have to tell me what I need to do to make it, not wrong, but what I should do to make it better. Okay, so it's going to move forward, turn right, move forward, turn right. We're going to do that repeating so we get our square. Okay, everybody sees what I'm doing. And then I'm going to hit run just to see what happens. Okay, and it's okay to make a mistake. Okay, I did it correctly, but it says I could have used only 8 blocks. So let's go back. Let's go back. We can go back. Let's go back. Can you tell me what I need to do to make this even better? It says I could use 7 blocks, and I have 2, 4, 6, 8. I have 9 blocks. So I guess I could take away 1 block. Which one should I take away? Any suggestions in the chat, or just yell it out? You can unmute yourself. What should I do? What's not needed here? And I'm giving you some think time. What could I take out to make this program even better? What if we did this? Let's try it. Okay, so I did what they wanted. I used 7 lines, which is even better.
And I'm sorry, Brett did send in a chat, delete the last line.
Okay, very good. That's exactly what I did. Okay, I read your mind. So anyway, that's the plugged activity for artists, middle school. And here's one for middle school also. It's called a Grace Hopper debugging activity. So if you go to this lesson and you just scroll down, this is the part that I thought would be most useful. Under activity, we're going to debug. We're going to try to find solutions to problems or bugs in a program. So let's do the first one here. Okay. And I watched the recording earlier, and you couldn't hear the sound. So I'll make the sound if you can't hear it. Okay. So in this project, when the green flag is clicked, the cat should say meow, meow, meow in a speech bubble, and there's a sound. But you'll notice that the speech bubble happens before the sound, and it only makes 1 meow. Okay, here we go. Oh. Did you hear that? I made it really loud this time. It scared me. So loud. Okay, so we're going to look inside. So Cody and Brett, can you tell me what I should do? It's kind of hard to see, but there's nothing inside. It says repeat 3 times. So it says start sound meow, say meow. Should I put it inside? What do you think? Say meow, meow, meow for 2 seconds. Start the sound meow. Should I put it there? Let's see what happens. Okay, so we hit the green flag. Did you hear that? Wow, that was really loud. Okay, so anyway, that's the first debugging. And then if you go back to the original, I'm going to leave the page, or let's just go back, stay on page. If we go back to the original page, debug it, lead page, you'll see harder and harder, more difficult activities. And you could assign it in groups and have students work on it together and collaborate. Okay, so that is that activity. And then I'm going to turn it back over to Faith so she can quickly go over this book, and then we'll see who gets our door prize at the end.
Okay, thanks, Janine. So each month when we do our learning activities, we feature a book from our statewide ebook collection. So this month we're featuring the book about Grace Hopper because Computer Science Ed Week is based on in honor of Grace Hopper, whose birthday is December 9th. So Computer Science Ed Week is always that first week of December. So she was born Grace Murray, and she didn't play with dolls, but she liked mechanical things. So she opened up the back of her alarm clock, and the springs and the gears all flew out. And she didn't know how to put it back, so she opened the second one, and her parents gave her five more, and the same thing happened every time. And they were just so happy that she loved learning. And she graduated high school at the age of 16 and went on to Vassar College to earn a bachelor's degree in math and physics, and then went on to Yale to earn a master's degree in math. And the year she graduated, she got married and changed her name to Grace Hopper. Then Vassar College invited her back to teach algebra, calculus, and statistics. And in 94, she joined the WAVE, which is that volunteer all-female unit in the Naval Reserve to help with World War II. And because of her math background, they sent her to Harvard to work on that first automatic digital calculator called Mark I. And that machine took a whole room. It weighed 5 tons, and it read instructions or programming from long strips of paper with holes in them. And the first time she saw the Mark I, she wanted to take it apart, but she decided to take a look at the blueprint instead. Then one day when working on the computer, she discovered a moth inside, and she removed the moth and taped it to the logbook. Until today, when computer scientists are trying to solve problems with their program, they say they're debugging the computer. So she went on to work for a private company on a Univac computer, which ran on vacuum tubes and read magnetic tapes instead of the paper with the holes in it. And by 1959, she was with the Defense Department, and they had purchased 200 computers with another 200 or so in order, and each one was coming from different sources using different computer languages. So she served on the committee to establish a standard language, and she insisted on using English, and she called it COBOL, the Common Business Oriented Language. And if you wanted to do any business with the military, you had to also work with the COBOL language. So that became the most used computer language in the world. And she was promoted to admiral, and she received numerous awards. And she had a ship named after her, the USS Hopper. And she received the National Medal of Technology, which is the highest honor for engineering and technology. Then she passed away in 1992 at the age of 85, buried at Arlington. And till today, we recognize her. And when I was sharing this story with Janine, she said they had gone to Harvard, a few of our people from our office. And so she shared the photos that she got from that trip. So this is the actual Mark I that Janine saw in person. So if you want to borrow this or other ebooks or audiobooks, please go to Sora app, and I'll pass it back to Janine to talk about our prizes.
All right. So I think actually Cody and Brett. I think Brett has the R in common with Grace, but since they're both here, they're both winners. So yeah, we'll have a prize pack for you on your desk, and some of the resources are these resources. And maybe you can pass it along to a teacher that you know. Woohoo! Brett is so excited. He's a winner. Cody too, you're a winner.
I love that expression, Brett. I love the enthusiasm.
Yes. Okay. So that's it. So if you can fill out our feedback form, we'd really appreciate it, because we take your feedback and we use it to make the next activity better.
Cody remembers COBOL. Yay!
Wow.
And if you go to the slide deck, there are additional resources that at the bottom of the deck that we didn't share today. But thanks so much for
And
joining us and
sorry.
for your participation.
And here's the feedback form. If you can fill it out real quickly, it takes 2 minutes. Wow, even Brett learned something, Mr. Computer Science. Wow. So I'm going to turn off the recording for now. Thank you for reminding me, Janine. I remind myself. Okay.